crafty friends, this is Shana from ShanoukiArt. Welcome to episode 3 of Art Journal August. Today we'll be using scrap papers, our stencil and texture paste. You will need 4 pieces of scrap paper. Pick any colors that you like. I'm going to tear 4 pieces of the scrap paper and lay them horizontally overlapping. You don't really want to use a ruler when you're tearing them. You want more of a rugged edge because this creates more interest when you're overlapping them, if the tears are uneven. Once you're happy with the pieces you have chosen, we're going to glue those down. I'm using Mod Podge to stick mine down. And I'm sticking them on the darker page because I want the whiter page as part of my final layout. I'm going with the lighter overall feel and the black won't really suit that. If you have dark colors on both sides, you could just cover the one with some white paper or gesso, or another piece of scrap paper in a lighter color. As I stick each piece down, I'm also adding a layer of Mod Podge over the top. This is to protect the paper if I add any additional watery or colored mediums over the top. Make sure everything is stuck down really well. It is okay that some of the pages are going over the middle centerfold. They don't have to be cut exactly to size. They can spill over to the other page. Here I'm just making sure that when I fold the page over, nothing comes unstuck. I'm just pressing it with the back of my paintbrush to make sure the glue really gets in there and keeps all those scraps down. I'm now going to add some gesso. You can add this after your Mod Podge or any kind of adhesive is dried. I'm applying it to wet Mod Podge. Either way works for this technique. I'm using a small flat paintbrush, and as you can see, I'm concentrating more on the actual overlapping sections of my scrap paper. This allows for a more blended look and creates a more uniform background. I use this technique in almost all my art journaling. I find this is the best way to push everything into the background, and I just love that misty look it creates. You can still see the underlying designs as they shine through, but they're not bold and in your face. They're subtle and in the background. I also add the gesso in different concentrations. In some areas I apply more gesso so it's thicker and more white. In others it's lighter and more transparent. I feel this creates depth and interest. I'm also adding a layer of gesso to the left hand side page that's just white. This is just to give it a prime so that when I add any kind of color it doesn't seep through to the other side. I'm now going to dry all this gesso really well and then trim off any of the excess scrap paper. You can leave it if you like more of a rugged look. This is personal preference. I do leave some pieces sticking out. Next, we're going to work with our stencil and our texture paste. We're going to concentrate down the center section where our scrap paper sort of ends on the other side, and this will sort of allow for one element to blend into the other. Placing our stencil over that area, using our palette knife and texture paste, we're going to press through, not in a straight line. It can be very rugged, a bit more this side, a bit less that side. Again, we're not looking for perfection. And when you lift that stencil up, you can see some of the colors of the scrap paper shining through in between the stencil design and then blending to white on the left. I feel this makes the entire page now cohesive, but we're not done yet. I was using a baby wipe earlier just to wipe up some of the texture paste that had clumped near the edge. We're now going to add some colors. I'm using my watercolors for this, and I'm sticking to the colors of my scrap paper, so I've got blues and pinks. I'm going to spray some water on the colors I'm going to use just to get them wet, and then using a small paintbrush I'm going to start picking up some of the color and applying it to the stenciled area. And as I apply the color, I'm also going to spray with water and allow that to run in between the grooves of the stenciled area. Don't think of this part as painting. We're not really painting. We're adding color and allowing it to flow over the textured area. So don't worry too much about controlling where the color goes. Let it do its own thing. You're just sort of going to guide it. You can lift the book up and sort of move it left to right and up and down just to get that water flowing. But do let it do its own thing. And the colors you're going to use here are going to be guided by the scrap paper you used in the beginning of this video for the collaging part. So I've got pinks and blues and greens. You will use whatever colors are dominant in the scrap paper you used. I'm also going to scrape the paint off the paintbrush on the edge of the page like this, and then apply water and let that run down. So we're just gently bringing the colors through from the scrap papers on the right, filtering them through to the left where it's mainly white, so that everything looks cohesive. And so that we don't leave the whole left side just white, we're going to let some of those colors drip all the way down. You can dab up any big puddles. And of course, a little bit of splatter, because I think that's one of my signature moves. Quick cleanup, and then I'm going to dry all that, and then I'm going to hold it up to the camera so you can see all the details and see what that splatter looks like. It's very subtle. I'm going to add a sentiment to this. I'm going to use one of my stickers. If you don't have these, that's fine. You can handwrite something, or you can find something in a magazine or an old book. And to make this stand out a little bit more, I'm going to put it on some kind of background paper. I'm using one of the colors that I've used on the right hand side so that it matches, and I've stuck it on, and I'm just tearing it very roughly. And then I just want to see where the placement is going to be, so I move it around until I'm happy with its location. I'm then going to add the Mod Podge, and at the last minute I actually move it to another location at the bottom left. Everything happens on the fly over here. I feel it needs a bit more blue on the top left, so I'm going to just cover up the sections and just do a bit more splatter to be able to create more balance. It's just too white. And I'm just enhancing more of the blue around my sentiment. We're then going to dry this well, and then I want to add something more. It's feeling a little flat still. So using the same papers that I've used on the right, I'm going to punch 3 circles, one from each design. If you don't have a punch, you can just cut these out by hand. You can also make them squares, but make them roughly the same size. And then we're going to place them on the right in a row, and we're going to make sure that the pattern that we're sticking them onto is not the same as the circle. For example, this one is the book page, so it's going onto the floral, and then the blue from the bottom section of my collage is going in the middle, and so on. If we put the same design on the same design at the bottom, you won't be able to see them. And then dry everything really well. I'm going to use my black fine liner pen just to add some definition. I'm going around my sentiment. I always do this freehand because I don't want straight lines, and I'm also going to go all the way around the entire page. Depending on the design, I always feel this finishes everything off. And then I'm also going to go around each circle with the pen. Again, freehand. It's okay if they're a little bit wonky. Using gesso and a small paintbrush, I'm going to add some highlights to those circles, just on the left and the right. Sort of how you would make a balloon shine if you were painting one. So I don't want to cover the entire thing in gesso. I do want the color to be bolder, but I want to lighten it a little bit. And I'm going to do that just in the top section. I think this also helps it to not look so flat. I really hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed working with your stencil and scrap papers. Don't forget to share your work in my Facebook group. The details are in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. Happy creating. See you again soon. Bye.